council, not an official vote. And the council definitely plays a part in this, because when it comes to matching funding, there will be bonds or something that the council will have to approve on this project. And I think the taxpayers of this community should hear where this council is going on this. I think that's a desire from the community. We are taking petition signatures right now, and I would really like to see this council have a meeting and listen to the people that are in opposition against this project, as well as the people that are for this project. I think you owe it to your community to do that.
Gene, I'm not going to argue. We did that one time at a town hall meeting, and I think all of us were there, and we heard all the concerns at that time. And I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't know how the opposition feels, because we've read the paper numerous times, time and time again. We know how they feel. We know how the opposition feels. I haven't received but maybe a couple of letters to the opposition. I did have one guy come in last week to ask me where he signs the pro airport petition as well, because we haven't gotten that battle, trying to get the people to say, oh, okay, I'm for this, would I sign? The people who elected us to represent them.
Gary, I agree with that on everyday things, but even the governor has made the statement, and I have quoted it online, that when it comes to a project of this size, the people should have a say in this. And I truly believe that as a taxpayer of this community. I feel this will impact our community in a very great way, and I feel that the taxpayers should have a say in this.
Did you vote on Interstate 69?
The interstate is a much different situation than an airport, especially when you have the transportation board and a financial economist saying that 75% of these airports cannot support themselves and fall back on the taxpayers to do so. I think this is a totally different situation than what you're talking about there, and I do think the people are owed their say in this, whether anyone wants to hear them or not. That's why we are taking petition signatures, and no matter what the council decides to do, we will be presenting those to you in the future. And that's all I'll have to say tonight, but I really think you guys owe it to listen to the other side a little bit.
And you're right, Gene. The public needs to know all the facts, pro and con. They need to know all the facts so they can judge their decision with all the educated facts.
Yes, and I think the pro always gets out there very efficiently.
I think when the people have all the facts to consider, they make wise decisions. And that's what my intent is for the people of Greensburg to know. I've heard things like, and I've witnessed it, to where one person told that was passing a petition, well, this was county residents, and said, if this goes belly up, the county people's going to have to help pay this debt off. And that's simply not true. So they need to know all the facts, the truth facts, both pro and con. Not just all pro and not all con, all positive or negative, either one. They need to hear everything. It's like anything in life. You have your good points, your bad points. You have to judge them out and make your decision.
If you do your research on this issue, you will see other instances.
I've read it all.
Excuse me, Mayor. Can I finish, please?
Sure.
You will see other instances where, in fact, like I said, 75% of them cannot pay for themselves and fall back on the taxpayers, and they look for other funding sources. Most of these airports are not city airports. They are either county or a lot of them are regional. And I know we've been compared to Bellefontaine, even in the airport layout plan. That is a regional airport. There is a whole lot to this issue. But again, pro or con, either way it goes, I still think you should hear the other side. And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you all.
And if I could interject, I think we all know that there's a group here that's on this side, a group here on that side, and I think the only common ground I've seen is the desire to move forward this one way or the other on both sides, and that's the only reason I brought it up, to have if some council guidance would help in that effort. I would certainly be in favor of it. I don't think it'd be legally binding. I think it's up to legal interpretation whether the council can do much at this point. I always thought the council was going to be involved when the need for funding would come up, when you decide at that point, yes or no, whether you want to fund it. But I mean, at this point, it seems to be moving forward, and I was just thinking if we had, I don't even, I guess a decision not to discuss it further would indicate pretty much the council's.
I'd like to answer something here first.
Sure, go ahead.
I've heard that now 75% was 73, 27, 20% failed. And like I spoke with one person, I said, it means 27% has been, they've been successful. But those are not good facts or figures. I mean, to gamble on anyway. And like I said, whoever you want to deal with, whatever numbers you want to find, they're out there, pro or con. I could probably find numbers to reverse that issue, where it's been told that most of the small airports that are showing a profit are basically cooking the books. I don't know where that information came from, but they're negatives, and I just want the facts, both negative and positive, so that everyone can judge for themselves. And that's what the aviation board has to do. That's what the council has to do when the time comes. And that's one thing I ask.
Mayor, just one more observation, if I may.
Here we go. Come on, Gene, one more time.
Well, the only thing that I want to address is what you just said about the independent, and it's actually the Independent Transportation Board that says that. Their objective is to promote transportation. But when you're talking about that cook the books comment that you just made,
Yeah, that's basically what was said.
that came from the Independent Transportation Board, a direct quote that most of these small airports that say that they are paying their way are not, according to them.
In cooking the books, they have to be doing something illegal. Why are
No.
they in jail?
That's your term. That's your term, cooking the books. You're using it for what the Independent Transportation Board said. And actually, they didn't put it in that term that you just used.
Then I listened to someone else in the Move or Lose It group that basically put it that way.
Well, then they're misinformed. And there's all those people out there, both on the airport board, on the city, and in every movement, you're going to have someone that's going to be misinformed. I won't debate that at all. I mean, that'll happen everywhere. It happens in churches, it happens in organizations, it happens everywhere. But when you're quoting the Independent Transportation Board and an economist from an aviation university in Florida, and then the other thing was that USA Today article was not just a report on this airport or that airport. That was an overview of the entire FAA program. An overview is much different from picking and choosing airports. And that is where it was said 75% of them do not pay for themselves and fall back on the taxpayers to do so. So these are very reliable sources. This is not just picking and choosing. And that's some of the things that I think this council needs to know. This isn't just pulled out of the air. Thank you.
Just a comment, I guess, or just a thought, and you guys can tell me what you think. But it's a big enough issue, and rather than have a huge debate over it, but maybe have another meeting or have a town hall discussion where you allow both sides to present some facts, and don't allow each side to have one representative.
That's
Give them
it.
a time limit.
Jamie, that will happen. It's called a public meeting, which it's been construed that we're not going to have a public meeting, but we will. And this will happen. Everybody will.
Gary?
Unless they keep beating the same bush,
Gary, you have just made another statement I would like to address, if I might.
No, well, let's just adjourn this and be done with it.
Well, the public meeting
Jamie,
thing is a
you know,
misconception.
I mean,
It is a
that's what's been said
misconception.
all along that we're not going to have one because we don't have to have one. And for the benefit of the community, we want to have a public meeting, and we will have.
Well, that's misleading, Gary.
I'm misleading them?
Yes, because I have talked to both the FAA. Let me come up again. I have talked to both the FAA